Hey guys, Goose here and welcome to this video. And this video is part 1 and part 3. We're going to be looking at my journey building a clone of Peter Green's JTM45 that he used in the Bluesbreaker. So I've kind of done a bit of research and I've looked at the gut shots of these amps and I've looked at the schematic. I've kind of tried to decipher the year of the amp that he was playing and what components would have been in that amplifier at that time. So I'm going to go through some of these components that I've acquired for this build, and really my impetus with this project was to be as close as I could possibly get to the original Peter Green JTM45 that he was using, you know. So really, in order to embark on that journey, I had two options. I could get repros or reproductions of the original components, and there's some great makers out there. There's some guys who've taken what I'm going to show you in a minute, these original components, and taken them apart and done an amazing job of doing a recreation. You know, also if you're on a budget and you don't have much money to spend on this stuff and you just want to get a JTM45, the basic circuit, then there's other companies like Modulus, and I think there's Metropolis, and there's a few different Marsden, I can't remember the names, but there's a few really cool guys who deal in components for the JTM45 builds and other models as well. But here we go, we're going to be talking about the Peter Green JTM45, and so looking at these gut shots, you know, I had a few challenges because, you know, getting hold of these components is pretty difficult. And I'm going to tell you the way I did it, okay, before I show you anything. But if you live in England, then you have two choices. You can go on eBay and wait, which is what I did. I scored some of the components from eBay, and that was really cool. And I guess from America you could also, depending if they ship to America, you could also go on eBay. But other components I had to go via forums and get in touch with old radio experts and techs in order to, you know, ask them if they had any old radio spares stuff. Because why am I talking about radio spares? Because when Jim Marshall first embarked on building an amplifier, you know, that he wanted people like Pete Townsend and Eric Clapton to use, he had the idea to take the basement circuit, and you guys all know this, he just took a basement circuit, but what he did, instead of using American parts, you know, he's building this in London, in England, in 1960, in the early 60s, and so he used a company called Radio Spares, which is now called RS Components, but back in the 60s it was called Radio Spares. And he used those components. He looked at the schematic of a basement, same values, but they were made in England. All the components were made in England. And that's what gave the unique sound of the Marshall, along with the 4x12 and the Alnico speakers made by Celestion. So these variables all made up the Marshall sound, even though it was a copy of a Fender amp. Soon after, a couple of years or 2-3 years after the Radio Spares transformers, they were changed to Drake transformers, different value choke, and so then the amp started sounding different, and it went to EL34s and so on and so forth. But I was really interested in that early Peter Green sound on tracks such as the Supernatural, and also All Your Love by Eric Clapton, which is just a classic ever sound, you know. So really, I had to get this first, because there was no point me even starting this journey until I could locate the output transformer. So the output transformer is what feeds the speakers. You know, this is going directly into the speakers. So this is really imprints a big sonic fingerprint on the sound. So with this, if you don't have this, then you're not gonna, you know, you're gonna get close. But if you want to really clone, you know, what Eric Clapton had and what Peter Green had, then you really need to get one of these. And this is a Radio Spares Deluxe. It's called a Radio Spares Deluxe output transformer, and it was rated at 30 watts or 35 watts. I think 35 watts in distortion, but 30 watts clean volume, and it would run 6L6s apparently, and also KT66, and the KT66 valves were what Eric Clapton and Peter Green was using in their Bluesbreaker amps. And when I say Bluesbreaker, I don't mean the combo, because Peter Green used a head and a cab, but he used it in a band called the Bluesbreakers, as we know. So really, obtaining this was really the first thing. I got this cheap. I'm lucky. I got this pretty cheap, and I didn't have to pay, you know, £1,600 or £2,000, as you can see some online. If you search for this online, you'll find one. But I think they're between £1,600 and £2,000, so they're pretty expensive. But I got this way cheaper. Okay, so then the next parts that I got, I thought I'd accumulate all the caps, because the caps are also quite important. Well, some, you know, jury's out on that. Some builders say that the caps are not so important, and they don't. And resistors make more of an imprint on the sound. But well, I wanted to be as close as I could possibly be. So here's an example of some of the caps that I got. You can see here's the original packing for radio spares, Lemco, but they were designated RS. But these are mica caps, and these are, you know, there's a famous cap which I have here in this box somewhere, I think. So here we go. So this is there's one cap called the 556 picofarads, which is, I've seen it for about £100 on eBay for this, basically this cap here. So this isn't 556 picofarads. This is 560 picofarads. So this is as near as I could get to that. But you know, what's 5 picofarads? So this is again a Lemco RS mica cap, and I've got a 250 in here as well. And I think there's some other values. So these are all the Lemco caps, but of course they were branded radio spares, and these are the mica caps. Then you've got the famous Mullard caps, which are in here. Well, they're actually branded 22,000 picofarads, 400 volts. So that's another thing, because you might find these on eBay for 150 volts, but you need to be looking for the 400 volt versions. You've got a 0.1 UF microfarad, so 0.1 microfarad as well. So these are now, do these make a difference in tone? I think I've seen a few videos, YouTube videos, where people have said, yeah, it makes a difference. But who knows? You know, there you go. I'll let you guys be the judge of that. We've got other caps, such as this Weimer. Now these are interesting. So I'm not going to focus, but these are interesting because these three are really out of spec. It should be 250 microfarads, but these are reading all over the place. So that's kind of, maybe I need to look for some better versions of that. We've got the diode as well here, which is a Mullard diode. If you look at the radio spares caps, as you can see, these are kind of second-hand caps, but these are original. If you can see that, these are the original radio spares caps. So these are so once I've got the caps pretty much sorted, the electrolytics I'm going to use. Maybe I'm going to use modern ones, because the thing with using old electrolytics, if they break, you know, if they explode or whatever, they might take the amp down, you know. So that's, I'm still wondering about the electrolytics. 16 plus 16, and I think 32, is it 32 plus 32 microfarads. I still haven't got the resistors, so, but that's kind of on the way. That's something I'm working on to get. So the next sort of part of this journey was finding a mains transformer. So the mains transformer doesn't really make a big sonic imprint on the sound. It's just supplying the correct voltages to the valves or rectifier, whatever. But for this project, I wanted it to look as authentic as possible, and these are really rare. These are really hard to get hold of, because first of all, if I show you this is actually a radio spares standard transformer. So this is not correct. But if this period, the later period, they did a cheaper design with this label, and you might see something like this on the baby Bluesbreakers, okay? But this is a standard transformer, and this is taken from a hi-fi. Now, the earlier ones, transformers which were used on Peter Green and Eric Clapton style amps, were this style, with the voltage selector here on top, which I have. It's the pins are in a bag somewhere. And this is actually you can see this is a different color, slightly. Is that kind of a grey-green sort of color? Although the ones on the Marshall JTM45s were normal sort of metallic color. But these are so rare and command, again, quite a bit of a price. And I was very, very lucky to get hold of this. And I think this is actually an original NOS, so it's never been used, it's never been part of a circuit. The enamel is still on the end of the wires, and the cables here you can see are quite long. So it looks like it's never been installed into a piece of equipment. So I was very, very lucky to get hold of this radio spares transformer. And it's, you know, it will normally sit like this on the chassis, and you'll see if you go and Google on eBay or whatever, 1964, 1965, 66, no sorry, 64, 65 Marshall JTM45s, you will see one of these along with one of these, okay? So these both are radio spares, original mid-60s transformers, the output transformer and the mains transformer. Okay, then we've got things like fuse holders. Again, this is a radio spares fuse holder. We've got radio spares switches. Oops, I've got some more switches here. Again, these are the correct era switches. So I've got 3 of them. Potentiometers. This is a radio spares potentiometer. These I'm still missing a few values, but these are very rare. Radio spares potentiometers are very hard to find, especially ones that this is taken from a hi-fi, and it's very difficult to find one that's NOS. Let's talk about a few other things. Here I can show you, this is a neon radio spares neon bulb, so that's the radio spares little packaging. So there you can see that's a neon bulb. Original radio spares again. These are some soldering tags. I've got another fuse holder there, and again some more. That's a Belkin fuse holder. Here we go. Here's another thing. Now I think it's called pair axle or something. I can't remember. But I've actually got some of this stuff without the holes. These little turrets that you can see here, I have actually got a box of original radio spares turrets that I can, because these you actually stamp in there with this tool, which I can show you. So this is the tool that you use here, and you place one of these things, these little turrets, into the holes, and you hammer it in with that tool I just showed you into this board. I can't remember the name. You guys will remember that. This is actually from Modulus up in Scotland. I bought this from them. So, but I've got an original board which I may use instead. Can I see it anywhere? See the board anywhere? Can't see it, but it's here. It's around here somewhere. But I'd have to punch the holes in. So I may go with this. I'm not sure yet. But I will certainly use these original radio spares turrets. Okay, guys, you're going to think I'm really crazy now. What's been amazing about this process of finding these components is the people that I've met, either on Facebook or I've actually gone to their houses. So for example, to buy the mains transformer, to buy this, I went to a very clever radio tech guy, and he gave me lunch, and he fed me, watered me, and spent the day talking about radios and radio spares, components and amps and hi-fis. So in doing this, I've actually made friends with some really interesting people, and you know, maybe I'd post like some things on Facebook. I'm searching for the original pink wire, the radio spares pink wire, which is where from the circuit board to these potentiometers, 2 of which are here. There's some pink wire. If you look at the gut shots, there's some pink wires connecting the board to the potentiometers. And somebody on Facebook kind of saw my desperation for this stuff and sent me, very kindly, for free, I offered to pay him, and he sent me some of this pink cable, which is silly really, but you know, if you're going to build a clone and you've got the transformers, you got everything, and then you don't have this stuff, then somebody's going to say, yeah, but you don't have the pink wire. Does the pink wire make a difference? Probably 0.000%, 1% difference, but there you go. It's for the look of it. So guys, this is the end of part 1. In part 2, I'm hoping that Wow Amplification, who basically I'm going to be sending all these components up to Wow Amplification. He's also got some NOS stuff as well that he's going to put towards this project. And I hope Wow Amplification we'll do a video for you, and then I can put that together for part 2. That'll kind of be the build process, and then part 3 is going to be Bob. He's a good friend of mine. I do the Bob and Ramon show with him. He's going to play his 1958 Les Paul through this basically finished amp, and that will be part 3. And the reason Bob's going to play it instead of myself is because Bob, you know, that was is Bob's favourite era, and he's actually never played through a really legit a JTM45, and he owns a real 1958 Les Paul. So I'm going to do a video, make sure that sounds really cool for you guys, of, you know, really pushing that amp into distortion, so kind of diming all the dials and really showing you what it sounds like, and then we can see if we've got close to Peter Green's The Hard Road JTM45 amp. So until part 2, guys, God bless, and I'll see you soon. Take care.